Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the October Certified Commercial Property Inspectors Roundtable. It's like every month. It's an opportunity for you and to interact and converse and talk with other inspectors in a non-intimidating and collective manner. As we've always said, I'm not a big fan of forums where you can hide behind keyboards. I love the idea of conversations and everybody helping everybody. And I guess in that spirit, I'm pretty excited. I just confirmed my ticket. I leave tomorrow for Dallas to the InterNACHI convention, which means two things for me. One, I get to see inspectors. And two, I get a whole bunch of new pens, and so that's huge for me because I've got a bunch of pens like this one that doesn't have any more ink showing, and so that's just how much I've been working this year trying to help and get some things organized. But I wanted to do something a little bit like we've not done before, and I'm going to begin today's conversation. And it's a conversation, it's not a lecture, about tools. And I'd love if you've got something that you're passionate about, if you've got a tool that you're using that's extraordinary or does something special, let's talk about it. Maybe it's something you've invented, then we'll be quiet and we'll all have a secrecy and we'll let you go through all those steps and get it trademarked. But I'm going to start out this conversation, and I don't know how, if you dive deep into the ComSop, there's a couple of tools that you're required to carry. And that's really weird for me to say because I don't like the word required. But in the ComSop, it specifically says you're required to carry a GFCI tripping and testing device. And that's something just as simple as a receptacle tester, something that can pop a GFCI and make sure it works, and not your booger picking finger. Another tool you're supposed to carry is some form of note taking method or photo documentation method. That's usually our cameras and our phones. So within that and then beyond that, we've got some life safety. And now I'm pretty passionate about flashlights, and I'd love to hear what you guys are carrying. Do you guys all carry flashlights that have batteries, or do you prefer something that's rechargeable, or do you carry both? Who carries a rechargeable flashlight? Can you give me a thumb up? Excellent. How about one that just uses old normal flashlight batteries? I have them both. I always have a backup. When I'm in commercial buildings, there's so many times I'm in a warehouse that doesn't have any illumination at all. And so carrying a really good battery backup is something I can actually hand to my clients so they can actually look around. I'll give you some tips through the years that I've found, and I'd love to hear your tips too of what you love for battery backup. I love the InterNACHI Christmas party. Have you guys ever attended that? Well, it's free, it's online, and there are so many fantastic tool prizes that are won or / given away during that event. I don't have the date offhand. I'll put it in the link later on when I publish this recap. But attend it. Every battery-operated flashlight I own, I've won at the InterNACHI convention, our Christmas party, and it's just a great way for you to get, at least for me, to get a free tool. I always carry non-contact voltage sniffers. I carry one in my backpack with me every day, wherever I go, and then I've also got a lot of personal protection gear. What do you guys use for personal protection gear for yourselves?
Well, something I started using is a full harness when climbing for the taller roof access.
That's fabulous. I made it a point on my company, Larry, that every time I'm higher than that eight step ladder, my team was required to wear harnesses.
Yeah, because I've been doing warehouses recently, and they have like a 40-foot to 50-foot access ladder.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I can still get up and down without a problem. However, the peace of mind is kind of nice.
Well, that usually takes 2 Hail Marys and an Our Father before I start climbing it anyway. Anybody else use something that's fun? A note on harnesses, Larry, make sure that you look at the expiration date on them. There is an expiration date on every harness you buy.
I did not know that. I was looking that up.
It's right on the label. It's stitched onto it, and by convention, you're not supposed to share your harness. So once you fit it to your body, it's yours, and so you shouldn't loan it to somebody else's frame, and they adjust it. It really should be, and especially for those inspectors that are growing their companies, every inspector should have their own harness. Little Sharpie marker on it. This is Larry's, this is David's, this is Rob's, etc. And then you kind of assign them to them. I'm up in the north, so I'd actually adjust my harnesses twice a year. Once with winter jacket and once without winter jacket. And then we kind of get together and we'd all make sure they're all snugged up. It's like watching parachuters in the plane before they're going to jump out of the plane. It's everybody's checking their harnesses. So we always have a harness check day twice a year.
That's a good idea. The other piece of equipment that I found to be invaluable recently was battery backup power for my phone.
Oh, yeah.
I almost got caught short and I was sweating for a minute, but
yeah,
look at the top of a roof and then find out that your phone died.
Dave's up there with a thumbs up. Yeah, it's amazing. There's pros and cons in our industry. One of the pros is some of the advancements that's happened in the last half a decade with softwares and their robustness and what they're able to do for us. One of the downfalls is they're all sucking battery. Like we'll go after the last inch of pop in our cup. They're just a drain, especially because they've got to use internet or conductivity, and so they're really become problematic. So having a really good power source in your back pocket. Plus, little do you know, if you're in the north, it does keep your backside warm because that battery pack can get warm. So it has a twofold opportunity. I have found for myself ear protection, knee pads, respirators, and eye protection is critical on my inspections. I don't necessarily wear leather insulated gloves because I'm not necessarily taking apart any electric equipment. But as you going into some of these buildings and you got some larger stuff, especially that equipment that's higher than 600 volts, having some electrical protection is good. Eye protection is absolutely critical. What do you guys use for ladders in your operations? Everybody just using their normal articulating little giant type ladder?
Yeah, I use a little giant.
Yeah.
Foldable, extendable, like an 18-footer.
Yep, I have found that I've always carried a lot of thumbs up. I've always carried 3 ladders with me. I had a standard little giant, the old Costco with the wheels, 17'9" little giant. I've always carried an 18-foot 2-inch telescopic ladder because that has backpack straps, and so I could take that to other places of the building. And then I had a 24-foot articulating ladder as well, just for those few roofs. And I didn't carry it every day, but those few roofs that I knew I did not have permanent roof access, and I knew that by the time I put my little giant on its 73.5-inch angle, I was going to be stretching the limits of the ladder. And so having that extra 2 or 3 foot was really quite good. But where I wanted to go, and I guess what we'll kind of diverge off of this a little bit, is what are we using for thermal imaging? Or are you using thermal imaging? Anybody using just a normal C2 or C3, maybe C5, just a small clearing? Yep, I see Brad's got a thumbs up. Those are good. Those are good when you want to just find, I see some notes in here, some C5s. Those smaller, or maybe the MR, I think it was the MR65 or the MR85s. Those are good if you just want to take a temperature or look for clearing for moisture. As you grow your business, you're going to come into a trap. Maybe you've heard this trap before. It's the guy that dies with the most tools wins. I think the fastest way to go broke in the inspection business is to go to seminars and buy tools, because we all want to see something new. We all want to see something shiny. That's why we all started buying the sure tests, and receptacle testers and all those other things. And I get it. But as you start growing your business and you start thinking about doing some more higher level, higher thinking, critical thinking, and or working in the NFPA 70B world of electrical or HVAC testing, you're going to want to work with something of a higher quality. And I'm thinking anything better than a FLIR C8 would be probably where you need to be. So you're looking at a $3,000 to $5,000 investment. So think about that as you're doing your end of year budgeting, if we have any surplus, of growing your arsenal. I've always believed when it comes to any tool I have in my bag, and I had linked an article, not only in an email I sent everybody earlier, but as well as in the chat. I've always believed in, when I started my business or I hired anybody, I always bought lean and mean tools because I'm cheap. I'm sorry, I'm frugal. And every year I'd look at my December end of year and buy myself one new toy. And I'd upgrade a tool. And there are some times in the course of 5 or 10 years, I might upgrade that tool 2 or 3 times. But it's just something to consider as you're growing your businesses, is investing back in yourself. Invest in your safety tools, as Larry said, with harnesses. Investing in illumination with better flashlights, and better software, or better phones, or better safety tools. And then lastly, better diagnostic. So with that, I see Travis uses a ferret. I love the ferret. One of my challenges I have though with the ferret is it doesn't zoom, and so it's static. But using a camera pole, I can't fly a drone. I don't know how. I know they're easy. I've owned a lot of them. I've crashed a lot of them, and so I just don't do it. And being in Cook County in Chicago, we're not allowed to fly drones anyway. We have a complete FAA blackout, and so I use selfie poles, and so putting a camera on a pole, putting a ferret on the pole, that's the way I can look at things that otherwise people would fly drones on anywhere else. So anyway, that being said, I'm gonna open up the rest of this, unless anybody has anything else that they'd like to talk about with tools. I just want to always make sure that you're thinking safety, thinking productivity, thinking all those good things as we go. But with that, let's open it up and talk about anything else you'd like to talk about in our normal roundtable format. quiet. Anybody going to Dallas this week?
No, but somebody asked about moisture meters.
Oh, moisture meters. What are you using for moisture meter?
I haven't jumped into the expensive one. I've used several cheaper ones. Some I hate. It's I don't trust them. I almost feel like I need two of them to confirm. Sometimes.
I guess, David, it really depends on what you want to use it for. Correct? I have a pen and a pinless, and I buy them on. You could buy them at an inspector outlet, or I buy mine on Amazon, and I buy a $20 or $30 one because I actually treat them as disposable items.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to, at the end of the day, I have one that I've got attached to an extension pole so that I can walk around a multi-unit and test the ceiling under bathtubs and under commodes, because I'm in the inner city of Chicago, and I don't like climbing ladders. I don't like schlepping ladders around. You know, and I'm not going to stand on somebody's bathtub and look like a ding-a-ling, because I can very easily do 16 other things to make myself look like a ding-a-ling, but I just don't want to do it on the bathtub, because that's just a tough one to live down. How'd you break your collarbone? Standing on somebody's bathtub during an inspection, and I fell. You know, that's just, the paperwork alone is embarrassing. But if I can stand there with a stick, and Ben just had a video, and I don't know where, Ben Grimico had a video last week I saw of him using a tool, and he made a very fine point that if you're using the pen type, not to depress it in too deep, because it doesn't take a whole lot for it to make the contacts. I'm usually one that likes to push in, you know, I'll put my pressure on it, and I'm going in a 1/4 inch or so, then I get to leave the fang marks. But I find using a moisture meter to be invaluable, and I probably should have spent a couple seconds on it, but I think it's invaluable because it's going to tell you if a stain is live or dead. It's going to tell you, if especially if you walk into a place and it smells like fresh paint. Boy, that's a sign. Let's go figure it out. And oh, well, that's why we painted an hour ago. To hide the stain. Yeah, thank you, David. I should have scrolled a couple more pages. There's 9 pages of tools and items to think about.
Have you used any of the more expensive ones, like the Protometer or whatever?
Protometer. I've had Protometers. I have had Demoist. I've had them all, and at the end of the day, they're just measuring resistance.
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah, I should say
better.
we've done a lot of research just within our own company comparing the Protometer to, you know, a General Tools Home Depot version, and very, very little difference with the testing we've done. So an HVAC friend of mine owns a big company. He just recently asked me about, hey, what moisture meter do you recommend? And I said, everyone's going to tell you the Survey Master, but save yourself a few $100 and at least at first, and go with just a General Tools or a cheap one. It's going to do the job.
Back in the 90s, thank you, Steve. Back in the 90s, I actually had a electronics guy in Dayton, Ohio, went to Radio Shack and bought either resistors or, which ones are the ones that are the little barrels? Are those resistors or capacitors that have the little, anyway, he had that, 3 of them tied to lights, and each one of them would measure the resistance of electricity past 2 pins. It ran on a 9-volt. We called them the Goodwood gauge. He could make them for me for $10, and I would sell them for $30. And so I had shelves of these stupid things on my back, and you know, they were just ridiculously non-technical. And so to Steve's point, I just want something's going to tell me if something's wet or dry, and you can do that. Now, the only reason why I would go high end is if I'm starting to do some more forensics. if you're going to start doing exterior insulation and finishing system inspections and some of those diagnostics where your tool is a corroborator, I get it. But if you're looking for a simple clearing tool to show you that that stain is wet, or you're in a lower level of a building and it's damp, then I don't think your tool matters. It's having a tool is probably your key. Anybody carry drop cloths? No? Doug is shaking his head. I carry a drop cloth. I bought a drop cloth. It's canvas top and it's got a rubber bottom. It's got little dimples, so it's non-slick. So I can actually put that on hardwood or tile and I erect my ladder, and my ladder is not going to kick. And so it's a simple canvas-looking drop cloth. It's clean. It looks good, but it's also used for my personal safety as well. Because I used to use just bed sheets, and boy, you put bed sheet on a piece of hardwood, and it's like practicing raw ice skating. It doesn't do you a whole lot of safety.
That also gives you the appearance of extreme professionalism.
Well, you can fake that pretty easy, can't you, Dave?
Yeah, I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, I actually had all my drop cloths because I had so many inspectors in the field. I actually had them stenciled with the screen print with our company logo on them. Just like Internachi's got some really good ones that they have on their website. I've just found that I could produce these a little bit more cost effective by buying them in bulk. How about tool pouches? Do you try to look professional with your tool pouch? Or do you just put stuff in your pockets?
Yeah, I've had a pouch ever since the start.
Yep.
Keep everything in and it's all organized.
I try hard not to look like a contractor. I try hard not to look like a police officer. So I know a lot of inspectors love putting vests on. And then they'll have stuff all over their vests. I find that to be a little bit too tactical. I find there's a difference between a residential inspector and a commercial inspector. In a commercial inspection, we're a lot closer to the consultant than we are the technician. And so showing up looking like a consultant, the really good collared shirts and the elevated personalities and and looking like you should be getting paid what we get paid is a big difference than showing up and the old days of being a hammer pounder or a tinner with a big work bag. But I've always used a brand called the Bully Bag. You see some videos I've posted on them, and it's because it doesn't go on my belt; it goes around my belt, and that allows me. Gary's pulling out his bag. He looks like he's ready to hang some shingles. I don't think the Lone Ranger carried a belt that big.
That man has nothing on me.
And he had 2 guns. But I just found that being able, because I never put my belt on when I'm climbing a ladder and going up onto a roof, that I can do all those things safely. But we can talk more about tools, or we can open this up to the floor. Because every week we've always got somebody that has some great questions.
As far as tools, I carry pepper spray.
What do you have a brand of pepper spray you like, Travis?
There's POM.
POM. What's POM stand for?
I don't know, but it's a high quality pepper spray, and I caution my comment with I do have a law enforcement background.
Yeah.
So I kind of know how to use it.
Yes.
I've had a couple situations with dogs showing up.
Uh-huh.
With boxers that were pretty threatening, and I had to hose them to get them to run away. And then I have had a couple goobers show up as well that had me concerned.
Yep.
So I expensive stuff with me, but pepper spray is. You can shoot somebody, and if you're wrong, they're dead. But if you pepper spray somebody and you're wrong, it's just they just need some water.
Yep.
So.
I've carried pepper spray in my bag as well. Thankfully, I've had more expire than I've ever expressed, so that's good. That means I just had it. In the order of safety, though, one of your best tools that you have in your bag is your voice. Please, when you're doing commercial inspections and you're working alone, especially in big buildings or vacant buildings or places, don't be quiet. Be loud. So you don't sneak up on the raccoon, the dog, the skunk, or the person. You never know who you're going to want. So being loud, okay, I'm going into this space now. Hey, be aware, I'm about to inspect this space now. One of my guys went into a vacant building in downtown Milwaukee, came up across a couple of homeless people, and he took a 2x4 to the chiclets. And that was a pretty bad 6 months for him. Just because he was going through it quietly, instead of being very, very boisterous. So just something to consider. You know, you don't want to be a stealth. You want to go in there as a bull in a china shop, and then they know you're there and they know you're supposed to be there.
Hey, Rob. Brad here.
Yeah.
Along the lines of tools, but in a little different vein, I found a new AI tool, not new to everyone else, but a new use, ChatGTP. I know that's not new, but I've been using Grammarly for my emails, Word documents, and to check comments. I'll put into a note application so it doesn't copy any of the text and then copy it into my report. But one of the challenges that I've had is on my commercial reports, I include opinions of cost for all of them, and they're just, their opinions, any over $1,500. If it's under $1,500, I just put in there a minimum. And also, because there's a lot of customized comments that I'd rather not have, but end up kind of being necessary to be on point with things, I end up with a lot of typos in the reports. And so I found this really cool thing where I can upload a PDF of my report to ChatGPT and tell it I'd like it to proof the report and add the opinions of cost between the different categories, and it does it beautifully. It'll give me a list of all the Grammarly mistakes, which there are always some, and some of them have been in my report template for years. It's embarrassing. But the really cool thing is then I don't have to manually add up those numbers. And, it's one more price. I really was reluctant to have to pay $20 a month for another tool, speaking of tools, but for what it's doing with the professionability and saving time on adding up those costs, it's really been a game changer for me.
That's terrific, Brad. Yeah, AI has become the devil in the room that we almost need to embrace. Your bigger challenge you're going to have, or we're going to have as an industry with AI, is it saves, because it's artificial intelligence. Everything that you upload to it, it keeps. And it embeds it embeds in its brain. So if you do it, Brad, and Dave does it, and Larry does it, and everybody on this call starts uploading our reports, it gets smarter. And it will give you better data, which is great. Or it'll turn around and could give you skewed data based on some other people's bad data. So it's just one of those things. I do rely on Grammarly to double check my stuff, just because I have 10 thumbs, and I think faster than I type, and but I do it on a smaller basis. But I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I think it's going to be it's our future. And it's going to be an algorithm that we're going to have to start evolving into, as long as Skynet doesn't take it over. But that's just one of those things. I think we need to be prepared for it. I will tell you that right after the first of the year, we're going to have a couple of podcasts that we're going to spend a little bit of time with some AI in report writing and some AI in our web designs. So there'll be a little teaser for you of what we have on our calendar to help everybody. But yeah, I mean, I think making something shine, making it pretty, making it look awesome. I almost am to the point, Brad and everybody, I don't like looking back at 2-year-old reports, let alone 10-year-old reports that I've completed, because I'm almost semi-embarrassed of how they look, how they read, what they say, the typos, like you say, it passed that muster. Well, good. That was a pretty low bar. So thank you, Brad. I think that's a really a good point.
You'll still need to reread that, though, because, like you said, ChatGPT will still make mistakes, and at the end of the day, it falls back on you.
Oh, 100%, Dave. 100%. Yeah, you just can't hit check it, good, turn it in. You better, because I have found just I wrote an article yesterday, and it was accurate all the way up until the point they were using the wrong, theirs and wheres and things like that, because it was thinking I was saying this when I really meant to say this, or it was changing the tense of something because of the way I wanted it to write. So thank you again. Tony's using AI for cost to cure, and he's saying, Tony Escamilla, it's how are you using it, Tony? Oh, no audio. No problem. I mean, I to a point I've been using it only because I'll do the Ask Siri, or I'll Google what something costs, and I think AI is actually that much faster. So Tony's actually uploaded the Craftsman books and the RS Means books in certain tables up to his I think you're using Google, or you using into his custom chat. So he's actually training. That's a little bit like what Repair Pricer does. So with Repair Pricer, they've uploaded hundreds of thousands of residential inspections to create their algorithms, so that their AI is fantastic. It's well in the 95, 98 percentile in accuracy. But because they've only done hundreds, not hundreds of thousands of commercial, their AI is in that 80, 85% accuracy range, which is still pretty darn good. So it's evolving.
If you describe the deficiency well in the ChatGPT, okay, it'll do very well
Yeah.
as far as coming up with a cost for the deficiency. But you have to describe it well. You have to put in the detail.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how well, in the big picture, it can do. I mean, we should all be using the paid version of Grammarly and ChatGPT. And it's just a matter with ChatGPT how you learn to use it. There are so many different things. Besides the fact what you just spoke of, Rob, you got gotta double check, because that's where we have knowledge, and that may, provide you with a incorrect or an answer going off sideways. But there are a lot of other things you could do with it that I found. Okay? I was working on a golf course that had a bridge. I couldn't recall what either end of the bridge, the portions that upheld the bridge were.
Abutment.
Just, pardon me?
Abutment.
Exactly. For the life of me, I couldn't remember. Okay? I took a close-up of the picture. I took a cut of the picture, dropped it into Chat GPT, and said, "What is this?" Bang, abutment.
Yep.
Oh, good. Move on. It's those sorts of things that can be incredibly helpful. You still need to understand what it is it's telling you.
Yep, I have found that to be when you can take and this is where we're at in 2025, almost 2026. You can take a picture of something and then go to Chat GPT and say, "What is this?" And it could be the tree in your backyard. It could be the leaf you're about to wipe your nose with and go, "That's poison oak." Probably not a good idea. And it's just amazing what this will help you with. When I see things on social media from inspectors, 5 years ago it'd make me cringe going, "You don't know this?" But I'd never answer. Now you should never have to do that. You could take a photo of that valve in the floor of that building and go, "Well, that's a gate valve for shutting off the sewer." Okay. Because I could take a photo of it and say, "I'm in an old building in the basement. What is this?" And it will tell you. It's going to almost probably in the next decade eliminate our label plates on HVAC, because there'll just be a QR code for us to hit.
It almost is now.
Yeah. Yep.
More and more I'm seeing that. More and more.
So AI is a tool, and I think we're going to all evolve on that. Grammarly, which is a form of AI, that's going to help you write better. Again, I put a note on the chat. It's Grammarly. So if you're not using it as an add-on that you can put on your Word, on your computer, on your Chrome, and it will all you got to do is highlight something, hit the Grammarly button, and it will proofread it for you. So you don't have to send emails that make it look like you're
not quite there.
Not as bright as I know you are, because you're typing slower than your brain, and you skipped 4 words, which is how I work.
And it often works. It often works with software.
Yeah.
So for those who have some kind of software something going on, okay, you could highlight whatever you just wrote in, double check it with Grammarly, and see if it makes more sense or not.
Yep.
And it doesn't always, but it's worth checking.
Yep. And I have it. I actually used the free version. All I gotta do is and it works just fine for me, except for it limits the amount of them that I can use in a day. I forgot how many queries I have, but I like 50 or 60. So if you're typing a long manifesto, then you might run out of opportunities. But I'm notoriously frugal, and didn't go that far. Anything else?
Yeah, I think that we've been using it a lot too, Rob, and it's pretty stellar. But I think the key thing is prompting it correctly. Yeah. To Gary's point, if we recently did a car dealership with a metal roof. They had tried to patch a handful of areas, and coating for them was really going to be the most effective option. So we were going to cost to cure that. But you have to put in how many square it is, which means some additional measuring, and that often means additional on-site work that none of us really want to do. You got to tell it how much prep and cleaning work it's going to require. and the pitch of the roof in different areas, so some of it's moderate, some of it's low. The access at the property, how easy is it going to be for the guys to get their equipment in place, and about how many people is it going to take and how much time. I mean, it's, we all know it's actually really difficult to come up with detailed cost to cure estimates, and we're probably going to be off on some of them. And then, it might give you a range of 50% of what it thinks the total is going to be to 100, and that range is huge. So, then you have to prompt it to say, okay, give me, 97% of your expected total to, 99%, whatever it may be. And then it pumps out more detailed numbers. But, there's still a lot of what ifs in that scenario. But it's certainly way better. It's just we have to know how to prompt it well, and that's tough.
You're absolutely right, Steve, and it almost goes back even deeper to, and this is where there's that argument of should we even be doing cost to remedy or not, and I've been doing it my whole career, but it's one of those, because there's so many variables that only a contractor creating a spec, where you went very deep, Steve, and well, we got to clean it, we've got to prep it, we've got to stage it, we've got to safety it, we've got to access it, and now I haven't even started coding yet. And what are those costs, and what are those, and there's line items on there that we might not even be able to dive deep to. So that really becomes the setting the stage with your client and clearly identifying, almost to that level of, so what are your concerns? Oh, the roof? Sure, I can provide the cost to remedy on this roof, but ... if I'm within 30%, good for me.
Yeah. Well, here's what we do, and this is much more valuable. Hopefully other folks are doing this, but we have a team of consultants, and all we've done is I've reached out to people that I know, our hardscaping contractor, our HVAC, electrical plumbing contractor, and these are big commercial outfits, and they're local to our area.
Yeah.
So we can service multiple states, but in our region, because a lot of the pricing, of course, is region dependent, I can send these guys some photos along with, some general measurements, and I'm giving them free advertising on our site. I showcase all of them, and I link to them, and, so I'll tell them all I ask you in return is be available quickly. If I need to FaceTime you, shoot you a text or a quick email or call you, and they're very good about it, So I know, like for our asphalt guy, I know what he charges for patching and sealing. I know what it's going to be for a full mill and repave and line striping. For our roof coating guy, I know his fees, for Uniflex and all this stuff. So I can get a good idea from that. But sometimes they'll even just send me over an estimate, or if we're close enough, they might be out there the next morning measuring a parking lot, and they might have an estimate to me that afternoon that I can forward on to the client, which is way, way better for them and their agent, if they have one, than just giving them a cost to cure number on a report. You've got an actual estimate from a contractor. Now, that's not always the case. We can't always do that. But if they're close enough, and the contractor has time, then they can.
And there's the difference right there between being a consultant and then elevated consultancy and being consultative. And now you're taking that knowledge and your context and you're moving that forward for your clients. And what that's going to do is that's going to let all of those potential referring partners of yours know that they can rely on you and your firm to connect the dots. And that's important.
Well, and our contractors we deal with know that if we pass along their bid and their info to the client, they're likely to use them.
Yep.
So it's a huge win-win.
Yep.
And I would rather do that. We've been using chat for a lot of other estimates, still a majority of them, I'd say, because there's some that we just, like how much is it going to cost to replace this fire escape? Well, I have one guy, I'm in Pennsylvania. I've got one guy in Pittsburgh who does them, and he's one of the only guys in the state. But the cost to cure that I get from ChatGPT is not going to be on par with what he's going to tell me. I know it won't be. So,
and it's funny when you talk. I remember doing a fire escape one time over in one of the west sides of Chicago, and I had to call. My brother's a general contractor, and I called him up. He says, "Well, good news, I just put one in, and it's $150,000 per side per floor. Count your floors."
jeez.
Okay, because everything's iron and everything or steel. They were getting wrought iron off and putting steel on. So, yeah. So it's good. It's good to have those sources, and I don't think we need to be afraid on our marketing collateral, i.e., websites and places, to tout our sources, so that it can look like you're actually not pulling stuff out of orifices, but you're actually using quantified data. So kudos to you, Steve. Good job.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
I went to a facilities management expo a couple of weeks ago in Salt Lake City. I live out in the middle of nowhere, Utah, so trying to find people who will actually do some commercial jobs, very, very difficult. They're not willing to travel that 2, 3, 4 hours to get out to the middle of nowhere. But me going to this expo, I didn't even go to any of the speeches or anything. I just went to each of the vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And I interviewed them. Hey, are you willing to go 4 hours out? And well, some of them they didn't want to do that, and they only had certain areas. Well, now I know not to call them, but others like, hey, I need people like you I can refer to for estimates. Mm-hmm. And I told all of them if I am referring to you, if I'm pulling estimates from you, and I'm going to put down your information as to you're my resource, mm-hmm. so that my client can go back to you. But I think I didn't know this facility management thing existed until you had the interview.
Oh yeah,
I forgot his name, and that's because that interview you did have. That facility management expo was a great resource for me for pulling up those resources.
Excellent, Travis. Yeah, fractional maintenance or maintenance inspections is such another emerging industry that we can use as commercial property inspectors, and that just goes to either that small business that doesn't even have somebody on staff, to that next size bigger building that might have somebody on staff, but they need somebody to help make direction or a corroborating eye or something. And so you're gonna see a lot more from us coming this spring about maintenance inspections and specifically looking at the relationship between severity, urgency, and priority of the condition and the client's expectations. So that's stuff we're working on right now from the association side to give you another arsenal or another arrow in your quiver, so to speak. Coming from tools, are you using some of the checklists we've created? We've got a lot of checklists on our website, and I wanted to highlight a checklist that just came up last month. Last month, I ran up to Toronto for a week of training, and we were in a commercial cooking area. In fact, this building had 2, and we walked in, and I had 20 students in the class, and they all had their checklists in their hand, and they're going through it. And it was interesting. Here's a commercial cooking area. It had easily a 25-foot long Type 1 hood. Had beautiful nozzles through the whole thing. It was pretty dirty, but it had nozzles through the whole thing. And when I asked them to go find the manual actuator, which is on the checklist, the Type K fire extinguisher, which is on the checklist, and lastly, the suppression canisters, which is part of our checklist, they couldn't find any of them. Here is a commercial cooking area, fully engaged, making an inordinate amount of food. The suppression system wasn't even installed. It's like they bought this hood at a resale shop and hung it, but didn't hook anything to it. There wasn't a suppression system. There wasn't an actuator, and there wasn't even makeup air. They were using a loading dock's overhead door as the makeup air. So if you shut the door when the inspectors come, there's no air. It sucked the toupee right off the top of my head, and you couldn't open the door because of the vacuum. So our client in this particular building didn't even know that. They're running a large commissary kitchen that's cooking food for distribution all around Toronto, but they had no idea that this stuff wasn't there. How it passed? Not going to question. But nonetheless, they were eternally grateful for their free inspection. And the students in the class learned right there to rely on that tool, that simple tool, which is the checklist. So don't be afraid, especially with some of your inspectors that might not be as seasoned as other inspectors, to print them off those checklists that we have. We have them for HVAC, we have them for plumbing, we have them for electric, we have them for roof, we have them for commercial cooking areas. They're all on the website. Print them off, provide them to the inspectors. Let them rely on them in the field. I think your clients are going to appreciate it too, because it's going to show professionalism that they do something on every inspection. And that checklist alone saved a lot of headache for this client.
Hey, Rob, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, it's James Coffey. I'm new here.
Hi, James.
I just want to, you guys are awesome. My first time here. I love what's going on. I'm going to be here every month. I'm down in Florida. I do primarily environmental inspections, phase 1, phase 2.
Yep.
And some PCAs. So I'm learning a lot. And I just want to introduce myself. And if you guys need any information from me at any time, don't hesitate.
Thanks, James. Yeah, ESA phase 1s are an emerging opportunity for us, that you can partner with engineering firms and help them facilitate these inspections, because most engineering firms don't leave their office. They use technicians to do the field stuff, and you, as an intelligent commercial property inspector that's got expertise in observations, can provide that field work. You just have to partner with an engineering firm. We have some articles and some resources on our website that'll help you with that. And those inspectors that have embraced it are really doing well with that addition to their offerings. Welcome, James.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything today? We're just before the call, maybe you heard, I think we've got 2 spots left for our Phoenix field training. Last week we did a field training in Chicago on a bar and grill. I had 24 students there. It was a packed house for that little bar and grill, but we got to see some very interesting things. Next month, on the first week of November, again, we got 2 spots left. It's a 12-story, 249,000 square foot office building in downtown Phoenix. Now, as a preface, there's no way in the wide world of sports any of us will ever be engaged to inspect that building.
Oh,
But we will be engaged to pre-inspect the building. The ComSop is designed to be an excellent visual tool. And so we've designed this course to help you make this building digestible. What I mean by that is, imagine this idea that this client could spend an engineering firm or an architectural firm, easily mid-high five figures to inspect this building with the cooling towers and the chillers and the air handlers and the VAVs, the fire suppression, everything, with cost to cure, or cost to remedy, and accessibility. But maybe the building's in pretty darn good shape. What they might look at is bringing in somebody like us, and what we would do is look at those highly susceptible areas, the stairs, the landings, the open areas, the topographies, and take that building at a fractional of the cost of the engineer, and then highlight those areas that need further review. And so that's how we're going to digest this inspection, is understanding that a visual inspection can look at that cooling tower and that chiller and give the client actionable data, and look at the electric distribution and give that client actionable data, and look at the parking garage for actionable data. And so it's going to be it's going to show up yet another opportunity for us to be able to entertain the inspection of 250,000 square foot in a short period of time. So that's going to be a very exciting time. We've also got in February, we're going to be in Southern California doing a 3-day intro. And then I think we're going to have a couple more things being scheduled and being announced in between now and that February date. But right now, our next 3-day intro is scheduled for Southern California, over near LAX. I heard that's just an awesome neighborhood to be in. And we're going to have a 3-day there. I believe it's an Aloft hotel in El Segundo. But it should be a good time to get back to doing a 3-day. If you've got a site, if you've got a location, if you've got an opportunity and want us to come near you to do an inspection, reach out. Or not do an inspection, but do a class. Whether it's a really interesting 1-day or 2-day field day inspection, or whether it's the full 3-day introduction to commercial property inspections class, or something else. Don't be afraid to reach out. With our calendar, we're in the middle of building out all of 26's training, and so we'd be happy to entertain any ideas that you might have. We've never been up to the Northeast. We've never been up to the Northwest. And so those are two areas that are pretty high on our idea list as well.
El Segundo is not such a bad neighborhood. You'll be fine there.
I'm not worried. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I'm not worried about any neighborhood. I don't see anything anyway. I stay at hotels. So it doesn't matter where I go. I get to see what the inside of a Hilton or a Marriott property looks like. I don't get to do any touristy things.
Hey, Rob, I had a question or suggestion.
Yeah, Larry.
I'm just starting to look into doing the ESAs. I've done some field work for different people on different projects. Have you done a video on the ESA?
Yes.
Open to us? Okay.
Yes.
I'll just look it up then.
Yeah, there's so Ryan Walker, a good friend of mine, he spoke at this year's at the I think it was March or February's InterNACHI convention, where we brought him as a CCPIA speaker, and Lance flew out here in June and did a bunch of videos with him.
Okay.
And so I know that there's some stuff available on our website between that was produced with Lance and Ryan, and Ryan's contact information, everything else is there if you wanted to reach out and ask him any specific questions.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, if nobody has anything else, again, I'm looking forward to this week seeing anybody. So if you're going to Texas, come say hi. I'll be there starting tomorrow, and I'll be there through the weekend. We got the Phoenix coming up, so if you're going to be in Phoenix, I look forward to seeing. I know there's a few on the call that'll be in Phoenix. Other than that, we do have a few more things scheduled for the rest of this year, and we've got a big announcement coming for a class I hope to get in just before Christmas. So that'll be a really fun announcement. We've got a lot of other things working, but if you've got a spot that you'd like us to come, again, don't be afraid to send me an email or give me a call, because we would love to spread our wings into some new spots. Our key is the mock inspection. So we can almost build anything. If you've got a good building with a mock inspection, if you've got a good building that you think would be fun, the building we did in Arkansas, I mean, we could very easily not even do a class, just do one just to walking the building. So if you've got access to a building that's exciting, then that's good for us. We can build around that, and there's enough of us coast to coast that have access to some stuff, and so we'll certainly take that under advisement. Yeah, Robbie. Somebody just had their hand up. Well, excellent. With that, thank you everybody for taking the time. As always.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
Hey, sorry I couldn't unmute it. But I had a question about the Texas event that you guys are doing this month.
Yeah.
What are you guys gonna be doing over there exactly? What kind of class?
So it's in Dallas. I'm teaching I'm going to teach a 2-hour session just on so you want to be a commercial inspector. And then I'm going to teach another class on how to do multifamily inspections efficiently, effectively, and profitably. In the way I do it, the way I do multifamily inspections, you should be able to do 50 units a day and do them well. It's work, but it's one person could do 50 units a day. And then I'm going to have a booth there as well, and so I'll be spending a lot of time just talking one-on-one with a lot of different commercial property inspectors. And that's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in downtown Dallas, Texas.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, with that, everybody, I want you to stay safe. Make sure you follow the ComSop. We're here to support you. So anytime you want to reach out, schedule a coaching call. Check out our podcasts. Like, subscribe, do all those fun things, and we've got our newsletter too that you need to make sure you sign up for and know what's going on wherever we're at. Thanks everybody for spending time on this beautiful Tuesday.
See y'all, guys. Thank you.